I'm a visual artist. I studied painting, and I've been making work for about 23 years now out of plastic bags that I cut up and sew back together. I make 2- and 3-dimensional pieces and larger scale installations and sculptural pieces, and I've shown some of them in galleries and in foundations. In working with the plastic, it was very exciting material for me because I think it's a very loaded material. It represents the future to me and technology. So I decided to start educating myself about it, and what I found is that plastic doesn't go away. It can photodegrade and break down into smaller pieces, but it's always still plastic. And literally every piece of plastic that we've ever created still exists in one form or another, even if it's just broken down very small. What I also learned is that a lot of that plastic is getting out into our environment and getting into the ocean. I have a friend named Greg Stone. He's a marine biologist. And he said that 22 years ago, as he descended to the seafloor at 18,000 feet, he looked around and he said that the seafloor was covered with plastic bags. And that was 22 years ago. There's a situation that's going on out in the ocean. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is the name that's been given to the garbage patch that's in the northeastern Pacific Ocean. The way that the currents work in our oceans, ocean current, wind current, we have these natural gyre systems that spin. And there's actually 11 gyre systems in the 5 major oceans in the world. And what we're finding in these gyre systems is that they are slowly becoming these massive accumulations for all of the waste that goes into the ocean. Some people have described the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and these gyre systems as islands. There's an island of trash out in the Pacific Ocean. There's an island of garbage. In fact, what we're finding is it's not an island. It's a plastic soup. It's not just floating at the surface of the water. It's beneath the surface. It's in all of the water column, and it's on the ocean floor, and we don't know how much. What I also realized is, even though I had this idea to go clean it up, we are producing billions of tons of it every year. And so perhaps cleaning it up might not be the solution. Turtles are mistaking plastic bags for jellyfish, which is one of their main food sources. We're finding plastic in the stomachs, in necropsies of whales and all different kinds of marine cetaceans. There's another problem in the ocean as well, and it's also a problem on land. I don't know if this is recognizable to you guys, but these tiny little plastic pellets are called nurdles. And nurdles are pre-consumer plastic. They're normally shipped in really big bags. They also make these kind of pellets out of recycled plastic as well and sew them up in big bags. These plastic nurdles, what happens with them is a lot of them are ending up in the ocean. There's a scientist named Dr. Hideshige Takada, and he's been asking people, he's doing an ongoing project where he's having people mail these nurdles to him. And he and his students are testing the surface of these small plastic balls, which I'm going to hold up my fingers, but they're about the size of a fish egg. So if anybody's ever seen a fish egg or caviar, that's how big these things are. And what they're finding is that because these little plastic balls are oleophilic, they become these kind of attractors or magnets for all the other persistent organic pollutants that run into the ocean. Pesticides and pharmaceuticals, everything that runs into our gutters, down our rivers, to the ocean, ends up sticking to the surface of these. And what Dr. Takada's found is that some of them have up to 1 million times the POPs, or persistent organic pollutants, attached to the surface. And these are being eaten and ingested by the entire marine chain. Another story, I have a friend named Marcus Erickson. He and another friend did an experiment where they drift sailed a boat from Long Beach, California, all the way to Hawaii. And on the way, at a certain point, it took longer than they thought it was going to take, and they ran out of their canned food. So they were fishing for something to eat. And they caught this little fish, and they cut it open and found that it had 17 pieces of plastic in its stomach. When you begin to understand that these bits of plastic, again, are potentially attracting other pollutants to their surface, you might question if those toxins then leach into the flesh of this fish or this animal. And many people in the world use fish as their primary protein source. In India, we're finding that a lot of cows are eating plastic and eating plastic bags. This is an image of a camel that died from eating plastic in the United Arab Emirates. We use a lot of plastic. We live in a world that's full of quite a bit of plastic. One of the problems with the plastic that we're using, aside from the fact that it is polluting our environment and our ocean, is that plastic is made with certain chemicals. So in order to make a plastic bottle, it's said that you use about 3 bottles worth of water and about 1/3 of a bottle of petroleum. So whether the bottle is petroleum-based or plant-based, a bioplastic, there are other additives that are also added to make the plastic transparent and to make it supple. And these chemicals, there's a group of chemicals called phthalates, and there are these chemicals called bisphenols, or bisphenol A. And you may have heard of BPA, or something being BPA-free. So, for example, a plastic bottle of water, potentially, if it's made with phthalates, which it is, those phthalates can potentially be leaching into the water that you're drinking out of the bottle. And you might ask, what does that mean? Well, it turns out that phthalates and bisphenol A, among other chemicals, are hormone disruptors. They're endocrine disruptors, which means that every time you eat and drink something that's packaged in plastic, you're dosing yourself with tiny bits of estrogen or hormones. An example is the chemical bisphenol A, and this is also like phthalates. These chemicals have been linked to a number of human illnesses. They've been linked to diabetes, obesity, autism, Alzheimer's, prostate cancer, breast cancer, and brain cancer. They've also been linked to lower sexual function, sterility, and infertility. Babies exposed to these chemicals in utero also have a number of illnesses associated or effects that have a relationship to being exposed to these chemicals. There was a study done by Environmental Working Group, EWG, an independent study of umbilical cord blood of newborn babies, and what they found out of 19 babies, this was in the United States, that all 19 of them were born pre-polluted with over 220 different chemicals in their bloodstream. With babies, in utero, exposure to it has been associated with a shortened anal genital distance, which is penile deformation, and a lower IQ. And children exposed to it, we've seen a link to feminization of boys, which is little boys who have kind of pudgy breasts, and early menses in girls. And these are our children. There's an island archipelago that's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and it's called Midway Atoll. There's nothing really there. It's kind of a barren landscape. I think there's American Army base there as well. And it's a nesting ground for lace and albatross. These birds go there, they lay their eggs, and then they fly out around, their babies hatch, and they fly out all around these islands, and they collect food for their babies. And they bring it back and they feed it to them. What we're finding is that these babies, over 200,000 of them annually, are dying with full stomachs. This is the content of one albatross stomach. These images, and there's quite a large collection of them taken by a couple different photographers, really resonate for me because I recognize a lot of the bottle caps and Bic lighters and things that I see inside the stomach of these birds. And these birds are in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And it really drives something home. It makes me wonder, is this what we're doing to ourselves? Is this what we're doing to ourselves and we don't even realize we're doing it? This is the Los Angeles River. This is the mouth where it feeds out into the ocean. The city of Long Beach spends $2 million a year trying to clean this up, that they'd rather spend on schools and infrastructure. This photograph that I took in Mumbai. Plastic pollution is an urgent, major, global problem. And it's a problem that we've really got to take a look at. One of the things that makes me incredibly hopeful is that India has a very vibrant array of alternatives and other choices, many of which are traditional, old-fashioned, old-school, beautiful, beautiful tools and techniques and serving things and utensils that people use and have used for hundreds and hundreds of years. And guess what? They're not made of plastic. This is kind of a newer thing. These stainless steel straws I discovered about 1.5 years ago, I'm in love with. But one of my curiosities is my idea to go out and clean up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. For me, what happened to that is I realized that trying to go out and clean it up would be a very small drop in the bucket relative to the billions of tons of disposable plastics and plastics we're producing every year. And so when I backed up and looked at the bigger picture, what I realized is we need to turn off the faucet. We need to turn off the faucet of the way that we use this stuff because it's not only toxic for the environment and the ocean, it's toxic for us, and it's toxic for wildlife. I'm part of a group of people. I'm one of the co-founders of the Plastic Pollution Coalition. We created the group to raise awareness about the toxic implication of plastics and to encourage people to choose alternatives. And I invite you all to consider how you could incorporate a world free of plastic pollution in everything that you're doing, at school, at work, at home, on a personal level, and on a bigger level as well. So, thanks, you guys.